Have you ever walked into a crowded room where the buzz of conversations fills the air, but instead of feeling connected, you feel an overwhelming sense of isolation? It's not just a fleeting discomfort. It's a deep, lingering emptiness, as if you're a stranger in a sea of familiar faces. We've all been told that humans are social creatures, that connection with others is the key to happiness. But why, then, are there moments when, even surrounded by people, you feel utterly alone? Maybe it's because the shallow small talk, the forced smiles and the unspoken pressure to keep the conversation flowing drain every ounce of energy from you. Or perhaps it's the relentless exhaustion of playing the part, being friendly, being present, being fine, when, in truth, your inner self craves stillness. Have you noticed how quick society is to label those who step back from the crowd? Leave a gathering early or decline a social invitation, and you'll see the subtle glances and hear the well-meaning but loaded question. Are you okay? As if choosing solitude is some kind of red flag. But here's the truth. It's not about disliking people. It's about the quiet clash between your inner needs and the world's relentless pace. It's about recognizing that constant social stimulation isn't nourishment for everyone. And this feeling, this need for space, is not a flaw. It's not something to fix. It's a reflection of your unique nature, your life experiences, and your authentic desires. Instead of forcing yourself to fit into the world's noise, why not listen to your own? Accept that not everyone finds peace in a crowd. Some people draw strength from the quiet. And sometimes, walking away from the noise isn't an act of retreat. It's an act of courage. Courage to be honest with yourself. Courage to honor your true nature. Reason 1. You are an introvert. Have you ever felt that the silence of solitude is more comforting than the noise of a crowd? In the middle of lively parties or bustling gatherings, you smile, you nod. But deep down, you just want to retreat. It's not weakness, nor is it because you dislike people. It's the longing to return to yourself. Solitude, in its truest form, is not isolation. It's freedom. Freedom to feel, to reflect, and to truly listen to your own mind. It's like finally turning off all the surrounding noise and being left with nothing but pure, unshakable peace. I remember attending a large family gathering once. People were laughing and talking loudly, sharing stories about the weather, the news, and their recent accomplishments. I stood there holding a glass of water, smiling politely at stories that held no real weight in my mind. But somewhere in that sea of conversation, I realized I wasn't really present. My mind had wandered, retreating to my own thoughts, my own dreams, ones I couldn't share with anyone in that room. It's not that I disliked them. I just couldn't find meaning in forcing myself to engage in shallow, small talk. A few times, I tried to join the conversation, but it felt like I was forcing myself to play a role I never auditioned for. Eventually, I made an excuse to leave early. Someone asked me, "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" They didn't understand that nothing was wrong at all. I was simply choosing to take care of myself. If you're an introvert, you know this feeling well. You're not looking for a large number of connections. What you crave is depth. You don't want fleeting chats about the latest headlines. You want conversations that touch on truth, go deeper than surface-level remarks. But let's be honest, how often do such moments actually happen? Most social interactions skim across the surface, hopping from one topic to the next, like flipping through TV channels, never staying long enough on any show to understand the story. The price of these encounters isn't time, it's energy. Every social interaction feels like a transaction. You trade a portion of your energy in exchange for small talk and polite smiles. Is it worth it? The world isn't designed for introverts. It glorifies extroversion, celebrates those who are loud, bold, and the life of the party. But not everyone is a blazing torch. Some people are the steady warmth of a fireplace. Not flashy, but enduring and essential. And yet, society begins to question you. Why are you so quiet? Is something wrong? They can't see the rich inner world you live in. They don't see the thoughts swirling in your mind, the ideas and dreams forming like galaxies within you. All they see is someone out of sync with the crowd, and they assume something must be off. But they don't know that your retreat isn't an escape. It's a return to yourself. You're not seeking isolation. You're seeking reconnection with your soul. So don't be ashamed of your need to be alone. Don't let their curious stares make you question your nature. Ask yourself, do I really need their approval? The answer is already within you. Stop treating solitude like an enemy. It's not an enemy. It's a quiet teacher, reminding you that you don't need to please the world to feel whole. The noisy world might call you strange or antisocial, but in the quiet space of your mind, you know the truth. You don't need to fit into anyone's mold except your own. 2. Trust issues. Trust is a fragile currency in relationships, and for some, it has been spent too many times only to be met with betrayal. If you've ever been hurt by a friend turning their back on you, a partner breaking your confidence, or even a family member letting you down, you know how difficult it is to rebuild trust. Issues with trust aren't about paranoia, they're about survival. Imagine confiding in someone only to hear your words twisted and thrown back at you. Not only is it painful, but it's also disorienting. Suddenly, the rules of connection feel arbitrary, and the ground beneath your feet feels unstable. Trust issues don't just make you wary of others, they make you wary of yourself. You start doubting your own judgment, questioning your ability to tell friends from foes. And so, you withdraw. Not because you don't want connection, but because you're afraid of paying the price again. Every interaction becomes a gamble with stakes too high to feel comfortable. The vulnerability required to trust someone again feels like reopening a wound that hasn't fully healed. It's not just the fear of being hurt. It's the fear of being hurt again. However, trust issues don't just make you cautious. They can also heighten your sensitivity to red flags. You become attuned to subtle signals, an extended glance, a tone that doesn't match the words. While others might overlook these signs, you register them and add them to your mental ledger to determine how much you're willing to share. This doesn't mean you've completely given up on people. Deep down, you still long for connection, the warmth of genuine understanding. But that desire has been tempered by painful lessons. Those lessons have taught you that not everyone is worthy of access to your heart. Rebuilding trust is possible, but it's a slow, intentional process. It starts with small steps, a kind word here, a shared laugh there. It's about finding those rare individuals who consistently prove, time and time again, that they're worthy of the risk. Until then, it's okay to keep your distance. It's okay to protect yourself. Trust is not something to be given freely. It must be earned, and you have every right to demand that it be earned well. 3. Spending time with the wrong people. Not all friends are good friends, and this could be one of the most overlooked reasons why you hesitate to socialize. It's not that you don't want to be around people, but you don't want to be around those who drain you, disappoint you, or make you feel worse than before you met them. As Aristotle once said, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The talkative ones, the constant complainers, the energy suckers who drain the life out of a room. Spending time with such people doesn't feel like socializing, it feels more like emotional labor, Imagine sitting across from someone who monopolizes the conversation, talking endlessly about themselves without ever pausing to ask how you're doing, or worse, someone who hides their insults behind compliments, making you question their motives and sincerity. As Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Who could blame you for avoiding such interactions? Then there are the energy vampires, the people who suck the life out of you with their constant negativity or dramatic complaints. Spending time with them doesn't feel like connecting. It feels more like emotional work. After enough of these encounters, you start to wonder if it's even worth it. It's not just the toxic people you distance yourself from, but also those who don't understand you. Maybe it's a friend who insists on going to noisy bars when you prefer a quiet coffee shop, or a colleague who urges you to attend office parties when you'd rather stay home and read. It's not that you don't appreciate their intentions, you just want them to respect your preferences. Over time, these experiences begin to affect you, and you start to associate socializing with discomfort, awkwardness, or disappointment. As Seneca said, solitude is not a lack of company, but the judgment that one is worthy of it. It's not that you dislike people, it's just that you've met too many who aren't the right fit. And so, you choose solitude, not to reject others, but to embrace your own happiness. Not to avoid people, but to avoid unnecessary pain. This internal shift reflects a deeper need for authenticity and balance in your relationships. You may have become more cautious about who you allow into your life, and rightfully so. There is a quiet strength in recognizing the value of your time and energy and choosing to surround yourself with those who truly add to your life, rather than those who drain it. As Rainer Maria Rilke said, you must learn to love yourself before you can love another. You are no longer willing to settle for relationships that leave you feeling depleted or misunderstood. The need for peace, understanding, and a sense of being appreciated and respected has now become far more important than simply fulfilling social obligations. 4. Low self-esteem. Sometimes the reluctance to be around people isn't really about them, it's about you. It's the persistent voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough, not interesting enough, not worthy of their time. This isn't something you outwardly broadcast to the world. Of course, on the outside, you may seem fine, even confident, but beneath the surface, there's a storm of self-doubt convincing you that every interaction has the potential to be judged and rejected. You replay past conversations, analyzing every word, every gesture, every awkward moment. You wonder, did they think you were boring? Did they notice that awkward laugh? Did you say something stupid? These thoughts spiral deeper, and before long, socializing feels like stepping onto a stage, unprepared and exposed. What's worse is that this self-doubt becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you distance yourself, the more disconnected you feel, and the more disconnected you feel, the harder it becomes to re-engage. It becomes a vicious cycle, locking you in a cage of your own making. But here's the truth. This isn't who you really are. It's just a story that your mind has crafted. You've told yourself for so long that it must be true. And breaking free from it starts with recognizing that the world is far less judgmental than the inner critic wants you to believe. The internal struggle, the constant questioning, the fear of being judged. This is a heavy weight that many people silently carry, especially as they get older. The desire to protect oneself from the pain of rejection can lead to isolation, but it's important to remember that this isolation is self-imposed. It stems from the belief that you aren't worthy of connection, that your flaws and perceived mistakes are more important than they really are. This can prevent you from truly experiencing the warmth of relationships and the joy of social engagement. What you may not realize is that most people are far less focused on you than you think. They're too caught up in their own worries and insecurities to judge yours. If you allow yourself to take that first step, to engage despite the inner voice that says otherwise, you may find that the world is more welcoming than you believed. Reaching out doesn't mean exposing yourself to judgment. It's a way of reclaiming the confidence and connection that's waiting for you beyond the self-imposed limits of your mind. 5. Social anxiety. Have you ever felt your chest tighten and your palms start to sweat just thinking about stepping into a room full of people? Social anxiety isn't just shyness turned up to 11. It's a real mental battlefield where every interaction feels like a potential disaster waiting to happen. Imagine being invited to a gathering. You know everyone there is friendly and the environment is relaxed. Yet, your mind begins to churn with relentless thoughts. What if I say something wrong? What if I don't say anything at all? Will they notice how awkward I am? These questions keep spiraling in your head. By the time you arrive, you're exhausted from battling the scenarios your mind has conjured. Social anxiety can turn even the simplest interactions into an insurmountable challenge, like climbing Mount Everest without preparation. Every smile feels forced, every silence deafening. You become hyper-aware of your body language, your tone of voice, even the way you hold your drink. By the end of the night, instead of feeling relieved, you're caught in a post-mortem analysis of everything you could have done differently. It's not that you don't want to connect with others. In fact, you want to be part of the conversation, to feel like you belong. And deep down, you might crave that connection. But the fear of judgment, of being misunderstood, or simply not being able to predict people's reactions makes the whole experience feel unbearable. You withdraw, not because you dislike people, but because it's a self-protective instinct. For many, social anxiety stems from past experiences, moments of rejection, mockery, or hurt. These memories trigger intrusive thoughts and heightened sensitivity. While others may brush off a small mistake, you replay it over and over, telling yourself it defines you. Over time, this avoidance creates a paradox. The less you interact, the more your social skills rust, and the idea of engaging becomes even more terrifying. It's a vicious cycle, leaving you feeling isolated and misunderstood. But buried beneath the anxiety is a crucial truth. The world isn't the harsh judge you think it is. With patience and self-compassion, the chains of social anxiety can be loosened, making space for real connections. Overcoming social anxiety isn't easy, but it can begin with small steps, facing your fears, practicing self-compassion, and seeking support from those who understand. It's about learning to bounce back, to sit with discomfort, and become stronger on the other side. At some point, you'll realize that your mental health is more important than society's expectations. So don't be afraid to slow down and prioritize your inner peace. Loneliness isn't inherently bad. It's where creativity thrives, where you can engage in self-reflection and reconnect with your true self. The key is balance. Find the courage to step into the world without losing yourself in it. So, the next time someone asks about your preference for solitude, remember, it's not about avoiding people. It's about respecting yourself. In a world that constantly demands your attention, holding space for yourself is a quiet act of rebellion, and it's worth celebrating. If you've made it to the end of this video, I want you to be proud of yourself. Leave a comment below saying, "I understand myself, so I know who the true champions are who completed this journey." Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any meaningful content in the future. Together, we're not just learning, but inspiring each other to live a life of greater purpose. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.